Mopar people, welcome back to the channel. I'm just Mopar Joe. These are some of my favorite videos and they are viewer inspired. So this is the oil pan I'm going to use on the 400 that I'm building. And you can see it's old school. Where's it at? 971. Yeah, so an old school pan that's had the addition welded onto it really nicely. Still in good clean shape. My pickup tube. There's my pickup tube. I have no idea what brand that is. Probably Mylodon. But it's a big 1/2 inch pickup tube. Screws into the standard thread there. Nice. She's still in good shape. She's been off and on a few times, but I cleaned it out. There's no trash, anything, no funk inside. The reason for the video is that a viewer had said we were talking about my burnout video and that cheap shit fails. So I wanted to hear from some of you all on some cheap builds that you've had. Cheap meaning inexpensive here. Because my 400 build is fairly inexpensive. The only cheap parts I would say I'm using are the 440 source rods that look kind of like Speedmaster rods and the stock cast iron crank. But I got to visit my my original bracket car this past weekend, and I just want you to hear it and look at it. It's a 440 stock crank, stock rods that are full float on the same KB flat top pistons that I have in this engine. It was about 10-to-1, maybe 10.5. Ported 452 heads and a big Lanati solid roller cam. I think it's like the 650 lift, pretty big. If you look closely at the picture, these are actually truck headers that I cut the flange off of and added about 8 inches of pipe to make them work on the old car. I built this car when I was 19. So that's been about, 15, 16 years ago now. Won several bracket points championships with it. I've gone to several new tracks and was able to win with it. I've always had super great luck with it, and using cheap parts, it's still running. That guy, I talked to him, still the same engine. He hasn't touched anything. He added the Dominator to it, so that sped it up some, but it now runs 660s with the Dominator. I had it down to 682, something like that. One single big Holly carburetor. I did run a tunnel ram on it before, and once upon a time I even had zoomies on it, but I figured out that you can make more power with a truck header and small tubes versus big tube zoomies. I figured that out. But let me know in the comments what you all think of some of your cheap builds, and does the cheap stuff actually fail? I've had pretty good luck with inexpensive parts. The way that you build things really matters. Attention to detail, cleanliness, obviously, and hopefully, we'll all be able to go race someday. If you're waiting to buy the most expensive thing out there, you're probably going to be sitting at home for a long time. I don't know. Y'all let me know what you think. I do feel like with these old Mopars, we're pretty blessed with the oiling system, that external oil pump. If you were asking me what oil modifications I've done to this engine to be able to turn 6500, I would say I'm adding a windage tray for a little more horsepower, keep that oil off the crankshaft. I'm adding a deep sump pan. It may hold 7 or 8 quarts, I can't remember. That pickup tube is a little bit larger than stock, but it necks down to the stock size hole there. I've heard of people, I think you can drill those out and enlarge them. I've never had a need to. And then a high volume oil pump right there on the side, proper clearances, and she should live just fine, 6500. A lot of 440s, I've never had to run to 6500 just because they stop pulling. They don't run any faster. maybe that's just my heads I'm running or whatever, but this is a 400, so it should turn a little more RPM. And since it's a roller cam and I'm using those solid lifters, it should rev up pretty fast. So we'll see how she goes. I don't mind using some recycled parts, especially if they're still good. There's my old double row timing chain. I did put my oil slinger on the inside of here. I never showed y'all that, but got some really good views on our cam button video, so I appreciate everybody watching that. But, oh, my rear main seal's in as well. I got it. You can see my big line of RTV here. I always do that on the back sides. Be sure that dude's sealed up really nicely. She's greased inside where the seal matches the surface, and proper sealing everywhere. So I'm gonna seal up the bottom end. I appreciate y'all watching. Y'all let me know what some of your inexpensive builds that lived a long time.